everybody. This is Rabbi John Carrier. This is the Jew Curious Show. We are here live on Friday morning. It's in August, I think. Was it August 30th today? That's what it feels like anyway. So August 30th, it's about 9 a.m. Pacific time, a couple minutes after, and we're about to get started with Fun Friday here on the Jew Curious Show, which means I'll answer whatever questions you have about Judaism, the Jewish people, Jewish traditions, Jewish recipes, etc. Insofar as I have some, whatever questions you have, wherever you're coming from, I will be delighted to learn with you. So please feel free to ask your questions along the way. Best thing to do is get into the chat here on Twitch. That's where I'm primarily broadcasting out of. We're simul-streaming, I don't know if that's a word, to YouTube and Facebook. And you can ask questions there in the comments and things like that. However, I will share that you know, those are the ones I get to last. Nothing against you, nothing against those platforms. Just I can only follow one chat stream at a time at best. So if you want to chat with me live, please come over to twitch.tv/JewCurious. It takes less than 2 shakes of a ram's horn to sign up for that if you're not already signed up. While you're there, feel free to follow us. Feel free to follow us on Twitch. That way you'll be notified anytime we go on live like this, like we're doing right now. And also there are people who subscribe to this show. So let's see. People are asking me questions already. I'll get that in a second. Let's see. But some people subscribe to this show. If you came here on Twitch, you might have noticed there was an advertisement. And if you don't like advertisements, if you want to jump right in, it's like the HBO of the Jew Curious Show. You want to skip that advertisement line, you can subscribe for as little as just under $5 a month, I think. That's not too bad. That's way better than HBO, if memory serves. So anyway, feel free to join us here. You can also throw us some cheer anytime you want to. That's a thing you can do on Twitch. We're gonna go. You know, it's not fair. I can see you're chatting, but you can't see my face. So let's get into that. And in just a moment, hey, nice to see you. We will be on with our good friend, not just Mario, but Super Mario and his Odyssey in just a moment. First, I want to give some shout outs to my friends who are already joining us here. Let's see who we got. Kay Dixie, yay, fun Friday from California. Triggers and Biv says, Boker Mizuyan, it is indeed an excellent morning. Christy B says, Boker Tov. KG Wilcox, good morning, Rabbi. Would you rather be known as Carrier John, year of birth, or Carrier John, Rabbi? Year of birth, I don't know. That's a secret. Is it? I don't know. I'll just say it wasn't quite the bicentennial yet when I was born. Let's see. I used to be known as Little John because my day. You want to call me Little John? That's fine too. It's not a what is that? Not a Robin Hood reference. My father's name is also John, and so in the house, you know, he was Big John and I was Little John. Even though I think I passed him in height when I was in about the 5th grade, but I drank a lot of milk as a kid. So KG Wilcox saying hello to everybody. You can call me Rabbi, you can call me John, you can call me Raymond, or you can call me Jamin. I think that's the old Ray J. Johnson bit. Let's see. Need to relearn how to cheer. Let's see. Marite is, I believe, our good friend on Arcadia. Hello. And happy recent cumpleaños. So happy to have you here. KG Wilcox, I'd like to call you Mensch, but that's not allowed. You can if you like. That's very nice of you. Thank you. Mensch is a compliment. It rhymes with Dench, and there was a famous actress, Judi Dench, if you're having trouble pronouncing it. But anyway, so that's the highest compliment really anybody can pay me. If somebody calls me a Mensch, that's a very nice thing to be. It sounds just like the word for man or human in German, and Yiddish is based on German. But if you call somebody a Mensch, it's like you're calling them a really top-notch human being, right? You're saying that's a person of quality and something it's very complimentary. I'll just leave it at that. So thank you so much for being here, everybody. Triggers and Viv says Shabbat Shalom. Just about somebody asked me once, when can you start saying Shabbat Shalom? Because people will say Shabbat Shalom on Friday afternoon or even Friday morning before it's Shabbat yet. And so I think the earliest is like Thursday, just going by custom here. If you see somebody on on Wednesday or Thursday, and you don't expect to see them before Shabbat, then it's okay to say, have a good Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, or good Shabbos if you were back in the Yiddish again. So you can do that again. Oh, KG Wilcox says, I'm cataloging for your book, which I'm really enjoying. Thank you so much. Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, I don't know if there should be a Library of Congress record in there somewhere. I'm not sure. John Carrier, year of birth, if you could find it, go right ahead or ping me. So very cool. A lot of great stuff going on this morning. I'm not seeing any questions yet. A favor that I ask, not only if you want questions answered live, you should get in the Twitch chat here. And furthermore, make sure there's question marks on it. It's way easier for me to tell questions in the chat if they have question marks on them. So, see, Mrs. Bob Ross says Shabbat Shalom to all. Hi, Shabbat Shalom, Mrs. Bob Ross. I got Mario right in front of me. You can't see it yet, but it's got me itching to play. So let's go ahead and do that. Once again, everybody, welcome to the Jew Curious Show. This is a place where anybody from anywhere who's curious about Judaism can ask me whatever questions you like. All respectful questions will be entertained, and all entertaining questions will be respected. So let's go ahead and jump into the game. Oh, there's me and Mario. He's got his sentient kippa on, apparently. Oh, where'd he go? And now the game is asking for my resume. This is a pretty exclusive game. You have to submit your resume in order to play it. But let's go ahead and do that. Brutals over the lake. If you haven't played Mario Odyssey with us before, then you're about to learn something. You're about to enjoy something. So what we do, this is just because it's Friday, just because we like to have fun on Fun Friday, it's the same kind of Ask Me Anything show. Feel free to ask me anything. But on Fridays, I do it while playing video games because that's fun for me. And it's just a nice way to kind of, it's sort of a twilight into Shabbat, if you will. We'd have a little bit of fun on Friday morning, and then we go into a day of complete rest. Let's see. Novelist64 says, I think we should figure out an acronym for Rabbi John, such as the Rambam, like the Rambam or something. I don't know what that would be. My Hebrew name is Yitro ben Abraham, so that could be the Reba, or it's actually Rabbi Yitro Uriel ben Abraham, so the Rayuba, or the Riyuba, something like that. That could work. The Riyuba, the Ra'an. That's right. There's already somebody called the Ron, and then I have a friend named Ron who's a rabbi also. But apparently Mario is sleeping. Let's wake him up, and he's wearing his gear from the Sand Kingdom, his poncho and his sombrero. I'm just going to wait there. This is the easiest money ever made. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to get some power moons, apparently. Let's see. Okay. I'm just going to look around. Brutals over the lake. Oh, I guess that's where I'm supposed to get to. Just fight those brutals. And, how do I get there from here? Apparently I have to go over that way. So maybe I'll go see the brutals. And also trying to get some power moons. So anyway, let me just see, how do I get over there? There's a little bird. There's something swimming, apparently. That's a thing people do in the Lake Kingdom. Alright, I'm going to see if I can't get over that wall. Although I don't know if it's probably... Alright, let's get out of here. Dee-dee-dee. They've broken the stairs. Okay, so I can't get up there. Pronounced Ryan. I like it. Whoop! I don't even know how I did that. Do that. Maybe this guy too. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna jump on this guy. Oh, hey, that does it. Well, kinda. If you're looking for the water plaza, the way in is right behind me. I think we've been to the water plaza before. Oh, unzipping. I don't know what a zipper has to do with being in water. That's how I get out again. What's going on here? The rayon, like like a pair of rayon pants. Is there a Yiddish word for procrastination? I'm sure there is. You know, sometimes people ask me if I speak Yiddish, and my only answer, I don't know if it's a good one, is nothing clean. So procrastination is, I'm sure there's a Yiddish word for it, but I don't know what it is. If anybody wants to look that up and find out, I'd be delighted to learn it too. So just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I'm gonna run out of air. That's why I've got a little Cheerio. Okay. Oh. Stick close to the water. Close to the water. Close to the water. Okay. Oh, there we go. Close to the water, close to the water. Fish never have to worry about air. How nice for a fish. Apparently they have to worry about other fish though. Okay, get out of here. I'll go put this rock here. Isn't it dreadful? Okay, apparently I can't throw my hat at the rock. Alright. Question! Even with the upside down question mark, I'm impressed. Let's see. Christy B says, a friend of mine has an itchy talit problem. She wants to cut around the tzitzit and attach them to a new one. Is it still kosher? Yeah, you can move tzitzit from one talit to another. So if you need to change your talit because it's not comfortable and you want to put your tzitzit on it, you can do that. You can't cut the tzitzit themselves. You know, I guess you'd probably cut into that where the hole is and then put them in there somehow. A really fun skill is to be able to tie your own tzitzit. And I learned how to do this many years ago. Just a friend of mine who is an Eagle Scout. Now he's a rabbi on the East Coast somewhere, but he was also an Eagle Scout, which means he was very good at knots and things like that. But he showed me how to tie tzitzit, how to make the knots and the loops and all those things. And you can you probably order online, or you can find it at a local Judaica store if you have one. You can find the sort of kosher wool tassels that tzitzit are made of, like the strings themselves. And there are places you can go and say, and there's probably YouTube videos. My friend showed me a website. This has been 7 or 8 years, so I don't know if the website's still there, but you can find out how to tie tzitzit. And then you can make, you can only make your own talit, or get your own talit. It just has to be of certain dimensions, and then you can put your own tassels on there, and really, a little DIY Judaism for you. A Jewish catalog might be there's a book from the 60s or 70s called the Jewish Catalog that's a good resource on that kind of DIY stuff as well. So what on earth? Oh, okay. So let me see. Gonna go see, there's a cat in there. Oop, look at that. Okay, all full up. Is the monster still out there? I think so. Ufrosten. The Yiddish word for procrastinate, according to Word Hippo. Thank you very much for that, Kay Dixie. Is a monster still? I don't know. Is a monster down here? Am I going to run out of air before I find out? That's not cool. This is really deep. But I think I really need to be in a fish right now. I don't know that this is safe. Yeah, I think I'm about to die. Oh, here we go. Boosh. Yep, here we go. Whoop, whoop. Okay, that's better. Oh. Mario, fancy me here. That's right, it's me, Captain Toad. I'm traveling the world looking for power moons. What a nice thing to do. Swimming with this backpack is tough. I won't even know how I made it here. Okay. Oh, but I discovered this power moon. You can have it. That's so nice, Captain Toad. Woo! All right, KG Wilcox, give me a cheer for 100 bits. Thank you so much. Getting us a little bit closer to our goal of a new preamp. We're about halfway there right now, I think, in our, based on people's subscriptions and bits and some other donations I've gotten. We're about halfway to our preamp. It makes the sound a little better, although we are improvising with my webcam here. Let's see. Triggers and Viv says, I found on Chabad that the word is kratzit. Is that the word for procrastination, or is that a type of tzitzit, or tzitzit that you put on maybe later? It's called the kratzit. Very good. Let's see. What's this person going to say to me? Oh, there's the shop on the level above, and there's a roof above that. Okay. Maybe that'll get me where I need to go. Alright, same way you get anywhere, Scooby. Go and swim. Okay. I feel like I need to find a fish. I'm going to run out of air here. Nope, I guess that's where the Lock Lady dress was. If you didn't know this, Bowser's coming in and stealing all sorts of items for a wedding that he wants to have with his kidnapped Princess Peach, which I'm trying to put a stop to. So I just chase them around the world trying to stop them. They always just get right out of my grasp. So there's the Lock Lady dress. Let me turn off the pretzel rocks. We're not really listening to it right now. Just telling us some great songs that we're not hearing. Okay, that monster came and stole our kingdom's greatest treasure. Alrighty, let's see, how do I get in? Well, I can't get in there. I've got to be dressed like them to get in there, so let's see what I need to do to be dressed like them. Have a little bit of the move juice. That's good Folgers. Hold on, so I got a good question coming in from Noah64. I just want to turn off this real quick, go back to the view where I can see what we're doing. All right, so here I am in the Crazy Cap store, but I want to answer a great question. First off, CB from WeHo says, Chad from WeHo here, good to see you, Chad. Noah64, Rabbi, in the Intro to Judaism class, in the lesson on denominations, types of Judaism, you did not mention Karaite or Modern Orthodox. Could you tell us about them? So first, I'll go into Modern Orthodox as a denomination of Judaism. I think I talk about Orthodoxy, but not so much Modern Orthodoxy. That's just sort of a subtle division within Orthodoxy. And I can speak more generally about Orthodoxy, but there are many subdivisions within Orthodoxy. Modern Orthodoxy is just, let's say, a branch. I don't think it's really an official thing. There's not like, okay, this is the Modern Orthodox Seminary, this is the Orthodox Seminary. It is just an interpretation of Orthodoxy, or rather a culture and tradition set within Orthodoxy that is, I'll say on average more in line with participation in the modern world, as opposed to something like a Haredi sect, which is completely sort of insulates itself from contact with the modern world as much as possible. And modern Orthodoxy strives to, and this is my limited understanding because I'm not a modern Orthodox Jew, I haven't spent any time as one, so I can't speak, I can only speak from the outside, not from the inside. But it seems to me that it's an adherence to Orthodox theology and practice while not insulating yourself from the modern world. And so that's a subtle distinction there. But they consider themselves Orthodox. Other Orthodox Jews consider them Orthodox. Some Orthodox Jews do not consider them Orthodox enough. But welcome to religion, folks. And so I'll say for Karaite is... I guess it's, I'm not really familiar with any Karaite community. I know academically there are Karaite communities out there, but it's not a really strong expression within the Jewish world, and especially because it's hard to classify it as Judaism, because and I'm not saying it's not Jewish, it's just that for most of the Jewish community, or what calls itself the Jewish community, it has embraced, since the fall of the Second Temple, texts like the Mishnah and Gemara and Talmud and the law codes based on those things, where Karaite Judaism, within a couple hundred years after the Talmud was published, Karaite Judaism was or the Karaites were an anti-rabbinic counter-revolution to the rabbinic revolution, who said we're going to reject rabbinic law and we're going to reject the authority of law as interpreted by the rabbis, and we're going to go back to sticking to the Torah. So, you know, if you want to go back to doing the death penalty for gathering sticks on Shabbat and things like that, you know, have a good time. I probably won't be davening with you, because I like the things like, you know, raising the standards of rules of evidence so we don't kill people quite so often. So that is an expression that I believe considers itself kind of the original Judaism, even though it's a reactionary move that happened in about, I want to say, like the 8th, 9th century of the Common Era. And you don't, again, I'm not somebody who's ever been in a community like that, so I can't speak from the inside, but it is out there to a certain extent. People find all different paths to God. I don't want to yuck your yums if you don't want to yuck my yums, and so I'll just say that it's when we talk about denominations of Judaism that have, you know, a significant following or a significant community, we tend to stick to things like Orthodox, Conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist, if I list them in historical order, all of which are only a couple of hundred years old. Reform, Orthodox, Conservative, Reconstructing is a 20th century phenomenon. Renewal is a 20th century phenomenon. Also, Haredi Judaism is a 20th century phenomenon. This sort of extreme fundamentalist move in Judaism among Hasidic communities is a relatively new thing in Jewish time scales anyway. So, but those are what we think about. We think of like Orthodoxy, and there's a lot of divisions within Orthodoxy. You know, same with Conservative and Reform. There's divisions and sub-communities within that. Reconstructing, Renewal, same thing. So anytime people split up, eventually people inside that split off group will split up as well. And every once in a while we get back together and make Shabbos. So let's see. KG Wilcox, another librarian beat me to it. It's crud, sorry. I'm so sorry. Well, thank you for doing it anyway. I really appreciate that. So Nawa 64 says, we had some friends back east who were ethnically and ancestrally Karaite. Well, that's phenomenal. Like every time I think I know something, I realize I don't know anything at all. So there are people who are a part of it, but it's not something that we usually list among denominations of Judaism, because most of the time you're talking to rabbinic Jews, and we have our own biases, we have our own blinders on. So the main distinction is that Karaite Judaism is a Judaism that rejects, let's say, deciding or interpreting law on a rabbinic basis. And so whereas most Jews at least acknowledge these roots of the customs and practices and laws that we have being rabbinic interpretations of the Torah, the Karaite counter-revolution to that is, no, we're just going to try to stick as fundamentally to the scripture in its, and in its own merits as we can, without the Talmud and Mishnah and things like that. I have heard there are similar activities of interpretation and commentary within Karaite sects, just not Talmud. So, all right. Hopefully that helps with the difference a little bit. Nama 64, Rabbi, thanks. I'm mostly trying to see the difference between modern Orthodox and conservative. A lot of it goes on theological lines. Some of it goes on practical lines. Right, Mario's asleep here. Let's get up and buy something. The difference being that, often you can't tell the difference. Often people it really goes down family by family. People will, on people's observance of Shabbat and people's observance of Kashrut, you can find, I can think of people I know in my life where one person is a conservative Jew or belongs to a conservative temple, has a conservative theology, and another person who is modern Orthodox, and you go into their homes on Shabbat, and how they practice Shabbat, how they eat, ways that they pray might be virtually indistinguishable. However, as organized movements, the conservative movement, I think, has a broader spectrum of different interpretations than Orthodoxy does. See, this is what happens when you procrastinate. Need more zerizut. Sorry, Mario. Mario's going to do a little zerizut right now. It just means movement. My favorite conjugation of that verb is lazuz, which is the name of one of my favorite Hadag Nahash albums. If you're not hip to Hadag Nahash, if you like Hebrew and you like the Beastie Boys, I kind of think of Hadag Nahash as the not the Jewish Beastie Boys, because the Beastie Boys are the Jewish Beastie Boys, but like the Israeli equivalent. Not because they sound exactly the same, but I think they have a similar eclectic way of composing music. So when I listen to Hadag Nahash, I always think of the Beastie Boys, and I recommend the album Local Material. It's got a picture of Beastly on the cover, or Lazuz, which means to move. So Mrs. Bob Ross had a question above. Let me take a look. Thanks for pointing that out, Nawas. And then let's see if we can get Mario moving a little bit. Looking for Mrs. Bob Ross. Rabbi John, you said on a YouTube vid about conversion that the Beit Din may think that it's not a good time for one to convert. Can you explain what times one should not convert? Hopefully my question makes sense. Absolutely. And so I'll say that, often if you're working with a sponsor, this is why it's essential to have a sponsor for your conversion, because the sponsor can exercise her or his judgment in conversation with you as to whether you're ready. And for the most part, I don't know that I've been in a Beit Din where we didn't feel somebody was ready. I'm not saying it never happens, but usually that determination of readiness is made by the sponsor, and we sort of take the sponsor's word for it in admitting that person to come see the Beit Din, and then the conversation goes great, right? So, but when I'm sponsoring people, and there's a few people in the Jew Curious school that I'm starting to work with to sponsor, I'm really looking for how long somebody's been studying. If somebody's been studying for a week, then that's not a good time to convert to Judaism. If you just heard of Judaism like a month ago, and even if you jumped into the Jew Curious school, you watched all the 100+ videos just on burning it, binge watching everything. You really need to live some time. And I think even though my course is only about 6 months, our initial course is 6 months long, or it's 26 lessons. Most of the time I'm assuming people have been studying Judaism before they get there, or they've been living a Jewish life. Maybe they've been a part of a Jewish family. Sometimes not, but I really like to see people be on the path for at least a year to have kind of getting used to the idea of being a part of the Jewish family, just because it's not a decision that somebody can make overnight. So I'll say time served, or time spent studying, or time spent observing the holidays in a conscious way has a lot to do with it. So I'll say if it's been less than a few months at the very least, then that might not be the right time. Another time where it's not the right time, I think, is if your family that you're in contact with is not on board with it. And rabbis have different opinions about whether they will convert someone, let's say, who's married to somebody who's not Jewish and doesn't intend to convert. Some rabbis consider that creating an intermarriage, which some twisted logic there, but many rabbis, I won't say most because I haven't done the math on this, but many rabbis that I know, including this one, take that on kind of a case-by-case basis. I don't insist that everybody in your house be Jewish for you to be Jewish, but I like to know that if I'm helping you convert, I'm not helping to create a bad situation for you. Like if your spouse or partner or parents or somebody is like totally opposed to you doing this in a way that's going to get in the way of you living your best Jewish life, in that case I would say, hey, let's spend some more time getting the family used to the idea and on board. right? So what I don't want to do is make somebody's life worse by welcoming them into the Jewish people. That's an example of when is not the right time. And that's stuff that, God willing, everything goes well, that's stuff you're going to work out with your sponsor. Like I always ask people, have you talked to your family? And it doesn't necessarily mean that your family has to be, if you're talking to your parents, like often parents who had brought you into the world and imagined a different life for you according to the stuff that they love, that conversation might not go well, right? And you have to be okay with that to move forward. But if it's somebody you're living with and they're actively going to be working against your Jewish practice, then I think deeper conversations need to happen before you join the family for the health, for your own spiritual well-being, and for the integrity and health of your family. Judaism, among many other things, I think strengthens family life, has the power and traditions and technologies to improve marriage, or to enhance it, or to really make us more mindful of it. And so for me, it would be a shame if somebody converted and then that became a separation between them and loved ones. So those are the kinds of things that those are the first things that come to mind. Either if somebody hasn't been studying long enough to really make a conscious decision about it, like a well-informed decision, or if conversion would be detrimental to that person's health, or psychological health, or the integrity of their family. Those are the kinds of circumstances. I hope that answers your question, Mrs. Bob Ross. So let's see. Well, I got Mario. I'm going to see if I can buy some clothes here. Hadag Nachash music can be found on Amazon. Very good. Nawa64, thank you for, let's see, coins are accepted everywhere. How may I help you, traveler? Okay, this is what I need. I need these two things, the swim goggles and the swimwear, to get into that little door over there that's being guarded, and I only have 4, so I need 11 more of those. All right. So let's see. I need to get up there somehow. Oh, okay. I need some more of those coins. Maybe there's something in here. Woohoo! Oh, there's something similar in this one. Oh, there's a little thing back there. Oh, hey! Ah, you found me. Very clever. You can have this as a reward. What is she giving me? Oh, a power move. Very nice. Alright, Kay Dixie giving us a plug. Become a follower. It's free and you'll receive future notifications. Thank you so much. Let's see. Oh, I can't get it. That's actually breaking the... Boop, 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 boop. Thought I'd try something clever there. Boop. Just trying to get in there. Whoop. Okay, nothing in there. Boop-a-doop, boop-a-doop, boo. Yeah-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, maybe if I swim up there. Well, that's how I got there in the first place. Doop-a-doo. Doop-doop-a-doo. Alrighty. Got a few more of those to get my cool swimwear. Let's see, I see that looks like a mini moon down there. It's being guarded by the fish. Alright, might as well get in the fish. Ooh, what's that? Hey there, fishy fishy. Uh-oh, can't stand that as monsters, vile henchmen. Let's see, maybe I can get up there and fight those. Let's see, that looks kind of pixelated. Should have seen that one coming. Alright, I guess that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. If you're just tuning in, welcome to the... I love the 2D parts, me too. It's kind of trippy. I think if you're just joining us, I'll say welcome to the Jew Curious Show. This is a show where people who are curious about Judaism, whether you're Jewish, not yet Jewish, working on it, not interested, just curious, can learn all about Jewish things. Feel free to ask me anything. Only on Fridays you have to ask me anything while I'm playing Mario or some such. So, and I got in there? I guess I can't get in there. Dive, dive, dive. Okay. Let's see, Mrs. Bob Ross, K. Dixie, that's just by clicking on the heart, right? Yeah, that's how you can follow. Let's thank Rabbi John for these learning opportunities by subscribing. Oh, thanks, that's really nice. Yeah, clicking on the heart is following, and then there's a separate button for subscribing. And so, thank you for the shout out, Kathy, or K. Dixie, I should say. Let's see, how do I get where I'm going here? Oh, there's a little place I haven't been yet, looks like. Oh no, I have been in that place. Oh, there's another power moon now, or another mini moon. Harmonizing here. Let's see. Y is to dive. Okay. One of these has to have a mini moon. Maybe not. Okay. Falling fish. Okay, somewhere in there. Okay, Dixie says, follow your heart. LOL. That's a good way to think about it. You should see the beautiful display in the next shop on the floor up. Well, I will as soon as I get 5 more of those thingy things. Okay, there's some kind of tube I need to get into. And where does that tube start? Oh, the tube is right under the dress. Oh. Okay then. Tube in the beautiful tube. Swimming in the tube, it's Mario. Getting ready for services tonight. I got a little bit of singing. Miss Bob Ross, I'm so glad I found you curious. I'm so glad too. I'm glad you're here. Oh, look at that! I get some dough. Boop, boop. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Trying to throw my hat. I'll get up in that zipper. Maybe. Sorry, guys. There we go. Boodle-doo. All right, now do I have enough hearts? I do have enough hearts to go get some dope threads. Catch that bird. Nope, thought I'd catch the bird. Oh, that's the other thing I can do. I can go get me some boss battle stuff. Whoop. Woohoo! Water towers. Uh-oh, I got myself into a boss battle. Blue Alexan says, Shalom, Rabbi. I was wondering if you could expound on the mitzvah not to shave the corners of your beard. Good question. I don't know if it was it this week's parsha or last week's parsha. I think it might be in this one. There's one about not tattooing yourself or scarring yourself for the dead, which is where we derive the prohibition on tattoos. But let's see. I want to try to answer this question before the boss battle or after the boss battle. Well, I'll give a quick answer right now, and then we'll mix it up with the brutals. So, there is a place in the Torah where it escapes me if somebody wants to look up the citation and paste it in there, that'd be great. It just says, you shouldn't shave the corners of your beard. And that's all it says. Don't shave the corners of your beard. And there have been a variety of interpretations of this over the year, because first off, people are kind of confused a little bit, like, what is the corner of a beard? Like, do beards even have corners? And so some people say this just means, the corners of your beard are your sideburns, right? Because that's where the beard ends, is at the sideburns, and that's actually where we get the custom of those peyot, or sometimes or payas in Ashkenazi pronunciation. So if you've wondered why certain sects of Haredim or Hasidic dynasties have those long ear locks, those long kind of sideburn things hanging down, it's because of a particular interpretation of don't cut the corners of your beard, this being the corner of the beard, and so they let those grow, some from childhood, and you can also tell different Hasidic groups apart based on what those corners look like. And so I'm not up on the taxonomy because this is not a part of my practice, but there are some that are considered very most modest or most pious to kind of don't cut those, but let them grow a little bit, but not too much. So they grow out a little, and then they kind of tuck them behind their ear, so as to, let's say, mask their piety or not be immodest in their piety. That's actually a big principle of mine, is not being sort of overly showy in piety. I have my own ways that I observe Judaism and connect with God that are my business and God's business and not your business, and I don't feel like putting it out there as like saying, hey, everybody, look how holy I am. That's why I often just wear a gimme cap, as we say in Texas, because you go to the feed store and you say, give me one of those free caps that you're giving out. So some will tuck their payas back. There's some that'll grow them extra long, right? And you'll see them; they grow really long. Those are often breast lovers, or of the Hasidic sect that follows the teachings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, and they'll grow theirs for their whole life. And the legend being, if a Hasid were to be tempted and fall into hell, that the Rebbe could reach out and grab him by the payas and pull him back out again. And also sometimes they get curly because of just a practice that you'll see, when people are studying in the yeshiva, they'll be sitting down and they'll be learning a text and they'll be poring over it and trying to figure it out, and they'll just sit there with their peyot and kind of twirl it on the finger as a sort of a fidget, if you will, or as a meditative soothing practice, and that's how they get as curly as they get. Leviticus 19:27 sounds good to me, so I'll let somebody else verify that, but that sounds appropriate. That sounds like a Levitical thing to do. But so some people interpret this as to not shave at all, right? And this is why men in Chabad, for example, but not exclusively, will let their beards grow out, because either any the edge of the hair growth could be considered the corner. So if you're trimming your beard, it's like maybe you're cutting the corner of your beard. Or because we don't know exactly what is meant by corners on a round face, then let's just not chance it and let's let the beard grow out totally. There has been derived from this practices against shaving entirely, as in the case of Chabad, or shaving in a different way. And so in some of the law codes it says you can cut your beard with scissors, but you can't scrape a razor on your face, right? That's considered cutting the corners. Like what do you cut with? You cut with a blade, but if you have scissors, which is a pair of blades that are sort of cutting by the blades are going up against each other in the hair and not your skin so much, then that's okay. And an extension of that interpretation is that many people, like this person, will shave with an electric razor, specifically the kind that doesn't scrape the hair off the face, but those like 3-head razors with little spinning things, those act like scissors, just scissors that you can get in really, really close. And so that's my own personal way of observing the mitzvah of not cutting the corners of my beard, is that I do shave regularly, not on Shabbat or holidays, so I get kind of scruffy by Saturday night, and it's always a chore. Like in the holidays, especially in Rosh Hashanah, after a couple of days, my face will get pretty. It looks like I shouldn't be in shul. It looks like I should be sleeping in or something. But so I don't shave at all on Shabbat and on holidays, however long those holidays are. But other than that, I do like to shave every day, because with an electric, if you don't do it every day, it gets kind of hard to maintain. So that's my interpretation of Leviticus 19:23 or 27, I guess, and I've given some other interpretations as well. Let's mix it up with the brutals. Why don't we? All right, so they are trying to steal this dress, and I'm going to try to stop them. Oh, this guy. I don't know if we fought this guy before, the tall one. He's got a hat with a bouncy flower in it. Woo! And so I guess I jump. Whoop. Okay. Yep, this is not going well for me. It might take me a couple of tries with this guy. That's 2. Oh, boop, 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 just staying out of his way. Oh, missed. Oh, missed it again. Whew! Did it. All right. Leave our reign. That's what my friend taught when he was in religious classes, that you shouldn't shave your face at all. Just to be careful. It was out of a conservative synagogue. So, like I said, there are many times where conservative practice, depending, from community to community and family to family, will intersect and be indistinguishable from some modern Orthodox practice. There are modern Orthodox people who will shave just, usually with an electric razor. I remember reading a book talking about people shaving their face with depilatory things like Nair or powders that made. That sounds like you're just in for a rash. Don't have that much experience with Nair or depilatory, but anyway, different people want to figure out different things. And it may sound picayune, but I was talking to a young man who's interning with me. And let's see, the Odyssey needs 8 more. I think I have enough power moons to get out of here, actually. Or do I? Do I have enough to get out? He jokes that that's why he could never be Orthodox, because he can't stand the feeling of having facial hair. Oh, it looks like I'm actually done here. If I want to be. Let's see. Boop 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 boop. Well, let's we could explore the underwater kingdom all day, but now let's go to someplace else. Let's go to the wooded kingdom. Yeah, I actually don't mind growing a beard. Most of the time, if I had my druthers, I probably would. I've mentioned on this channel, maybe not on the show, but I've mentioned to people before, there's a very good reason I don't grow a beard, and that's because my wife won't allow it. And that's okay, because the thing is, my wife's father has a beard, and he's had a full beard her whole life. She's never seen him without a beard. I've grown a beard, but when my beard grows out, this may surprise you, it's mostly white. So, I've got a little fringe right here, I've got some dark hair on top, whoop. But for the most part, when I grow a beard, it's all white right here with like a little dark kind of Wolfman Jack thing going on right there. And so what that means is that my beard is actually whiter than my father-in-law's beard. So when I grow a beard out, I look like her grandpa, and she's not having that. So for the sake of Shalom Bais, or for Shalom Bait, peace in the home, I decided to shave every day. And I don't really go in for the whole goatee thing. I don't, people do that. I don't judge. Or if I had a beard that was like neatly trimmed, but for the most part, I'd rather just, shave every day and keep her happy. Let's see. Whoever heard of a wedding with a stolen dress? Let's get after that tactless fiend. Spin throw. We'll do that some other time. Okay. I don't care for that itchy phase. Like when you are first growing a beard, first get about a week in, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it gets to be super itchy. Once you're past that, it's cool. Let's see. Now we're going to the Wooded Kingdom to find the Soiree Bouquet. Let's see. Leave Our Rain says that's the exact reasoning of why his dad shaves too. One time she went to visit a family and came back. He hadn't shaved, so she kicked him out with a razor and a mirror and wouldn't let him until he shaved. Yeah. I think it's important for couples to agree on stuff. I'll go on. That may be controversial, but I'll go on record. I will die on this hill. I think it's important for couples to agree on things occasionally, and for people to make compromises within reason to keep their significant others happy. So he had to shave on the steps of their apartment, and people tried giving him money as they walked by. Oh, that's clever. All right, so I'm in a new place. I'm in the Wooded Kingdom, and there's some recent events have initiated my panic and spin routines. Panic and spin. So you get some dancing robots over here. Nope. A servant of the monster is illegally accessing our flower supply. All right, let's go put a stop to this. I have a feeling. Oh, look at that. Got some nuts and bolts. Those will come in handy. Unfortunately, I did save up for. Oh, I did save up enough money to get the stuff in the Last Kingdom, but I got on the boat before I had to. Greetings, traveler, and to your hat as well. Can you answer my riddle? What does the Bowser monster want from this kingdom? Flowers. You are correct. Okay, anywho, proceed. Alright, excuse me, Sphinxerino. This is a helpful thing. A travel tip backwards somersault. If you're looking for an easy way to get somewhere a regular jump won't quite reach, stop, crouch, and press B to do a backward somersault. Alright, so press ZL and B. Woohoo, look at what I did there. Press ZL and B. And I get a little nut. Or is that a bolt? I think that's a nut. Okay, something tells me those gooey things are not really my, just leave the poison to me. Oh, I see. Nice. Boop, 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 doo, doo. I don't know if you can hear these great tunes, that's why I'm singing them to you. Doo, 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 doo. Iron Road entrance. Okay, this is not safe. Oh, there's all this gooey stuff here. It's gooey. Alrighty. That'll come in handy. Uh-huh. Speaker AJ! Oh, I'm sorry, I just got unduly excited. Oh, I think I'm duly excited. Speaker AJ, I'm officially Jewish as of 45 minutes ago! That's so great! I know it's been a long road for your brother, and I'm really happy you shared that with us. And you gave 45 minutes Jewish, and he's already coming back and telling people about it. That's why I love our community. That's so great. So 3 cheers for Speaker AJ, who's a member of the Jew Curious School and a longtime member of this community online, is now officially Jewish. Simon Tov u'Mazel Tov, says KG Wilcox. Mazel Tovs all around from the Shama and Christy B and DJ Willexen, or D Willexen. I just give you a DJ name there. Let's see. All right, I'm so happy for you. That's great news. Let's go over here. All right, these guys are kind of a pain. Boom, ba, ba, da. Whoa! Alright. Rabbi, I sent you a copy of my speech I'm making tonight. Yes, I love it. Love it. Alright, thank you. No, I love it. Thank you so much. What is all this? Woohoo! I'll say, reading the speech, that's entirely at Speaker AJ's discretion, if he wants to share with. But I really appreciate you sharing with me, and thank you. Yeah, I usually can't say enough nice things. Let's see, where am I supposed to be? Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted by Mario right now, but this is incredible news. Our good friend Speaker AJ is now MOT. Mission accomplished, brother. Okay, I got a bunch of coins and a power moon out of that one. Got a couple of questions just came in. Let's see. Michael Pacheco says, what's your opinion on mixing fowl and dairy? Presumably by fowl you mean boids, as one of my teachers from Brooklyn would say. What is your opinion on mixing fowl and dairy? Hold on, now it's coming. Let's see. What's your opinion on mixing fowl and dairy? I was reading the Shulchan Aruch, and it sounded to me like there's no firm opinion on it, mentioning that it was essentially a super fence around the law. So, and just to make sure I don't lose this question before it runs up in the chat, I'll look at this. I'll read this one too, and then answer them in order. Do ladies need to cover their head or wear a shawl when you go to the synagogue, or wear a shawl during prayers at home? So, first, chicken and cheese, we'll say, and then ladies' customs around hair covering and prayer shawls. To which the answer, as of many times, is it depends. And KDC is already sharing, can vary sort of according to the particular congregation. So I'll jump into that. Just I'll acknowledge that Triggers and Viv says, "My heart is bursting for you, Speaker AJ." Me like 100%. Yeah, thank you for. I love how people just kind of support each other here. It's so great. So Speaker AJ is going to post it in the Jew Curious School. All right, cool, very cool. Let's see. That's awesome. So first, just real quick, because it's maybe slightly easier, maybe not. The women covering their hair and wearing a shawl, that really depends on the community that you're a part of. As to when you see other things. I mean, or sometimes not. Some people just will take on their own spiritual practice of covering their hair. I know a lot of women do this, just like some men wear kippot all the time. Some don't. Some will substitute a baseball cap from time to time. Just the idea that we keep our heads covered. And so in some communities, women will cover their hair as well. It's sort of a different. Sort of depending on you, it's for different reasons. Like some women will wear a kippah for the same reason that men wear a kippah, which is to sort of have that reminder, that acknowledgement of God being over us. And so some women wear it for that reason. Some women cover their hair for out of modesty, and this is a traditional practice in, let's say, Orthodox, but not exclusively Orthodox communities. I know conservative women who do this as well, and probably Reform women do this as well. It's a custom among married women to cover their hair because their hair is considered part of their beauty that is to be reserved for only private moments with their husband, and so that's sort of a sign of a married woman, if you will. And so if you're in an Orthodox community and women don't have their hair covered, it means they're probably not married. So another practice is that sometimes people will cover their hair with hair, or they'll wear a wig or a shidel or something like that, so that it's something that looks like hair or might be made out of real hair, but their actual hair is covered. So it's kind of yes, I look like I have hair, but only my husband knows my secret, or only my spouse or significant other knows what my real hair looks like. And so this varies by community. I would say, if you want to cover your hair out of modesty, if you're a married or committed relationship person, that's a thing that some Jewish people do. If you want to cover your hair with a kippah or other head covering when you are praying, or just when you're out and about for the same reason that men do, that's an acceptable practice as well. Now, in some communities where some traditional boundaries between how men and women dress are still observed, you won't see a lot of women. You might see women covering their hair because they're married, but you won't see a lot of women wearing kippot. So it really depends on kind of what spiritual intention you're after, and the same goes for talitot. So in some communities where those gender practice definitions are very strict, you won't see women wearing prayer shawls quite so much, because that's sort of considered men's clothing. But in some communities, you'll see men wearing talitot and women not. And in some communities, you'll see women wearing talitot as well. And so if you're praying at home, if you think that, okay, I'm going to take on the mitzvah of wearing tzitzit, that's what the prayer shawl is for. There's actually nothing magic about the shawl itself. For the most part, the shawl, the talit, is a tzitzit delivery device, right? It's because we're encouraged to look at our tzitzit, and we're encouraged to have tzitzit, but you can only put tzitzit on a four-cornered garment. And for the most part, since togas went out of style, we don't wear a lot of cornered garments. Like, we wear fitted, shaped clothes, and so that's why we have the talit, is to have a four-cornered garment to put the tzitzit on. So, and again, even in some communities, men will start wearing a talit right after their bar mitzvah. In some communities, men won't wear a talit until they're married, right? And so again, you can kind of tell the single folks from the not single folks. So it really depends on kind of where you are. I mean, if you're not close to a Jewish community, you're adopting some of these things on your own, ping me for kind of individual questions. But sort of the reason for putting on a shawl during morning prayers is to have those tzitzit available during the morning Shema. So that's hopefully that's the easier thing than the whole chicken and cheese debate or fowl and dairy. You know, the idea is, and this comes along, you know, in the Middle Ages. There are, I know rabbis today who consider chicken parve because it's not something that gives milk, right? Only things that give milk are considered meat in this rabbi's opinion. I follow the practice where, you know, from Maimonides, I think onward, where oaf, you know, basar oaf or chicken meat is like meat, and yes, it's acknowledged that this is a stringency, right? This is kind of a fence around the fence around the Torah, right? The Torah says you don't cook a kid in its mother's milk. An additional fence was created outside of that to say, okay, we don't cook any meat with, you know, any goat with any milk, and that includes any kind of land livestock. We don't cook it, whether it's its own mother's milk or not. So we don't cook any meat in its milk. And then along came another stringency that says let's apply this to bird meat as well, as just another fence, another layer of stringency that keeps us far away from breaking the original Torah intention, because that's serious consequences for breaking Torah, either spiritually or communally. So we put fences, and then we put fences outside of those fences. You know, if people get comfortable eating chicken sandwiches with cheese on them, they may slip and say, oh, I don't have any chicken. Maybe just this one time I'll have a burger. Or if another reason for these fences is if somebody sees you eating, let's say, a chicken and cheese sandwich, or they can smell the, you know, meat cooked, but they can't see that it's chicken. They say, oh, look who's eating, you know, meat and milk together. I guess that's back on the menu. You know, I guess all these dietary laws are bogus. So that's the reason for that stringency. And, you know, as part of my own kashrut, I don't mix birds and dairy products together any more than I would mix, you know, cow and dairy products together. That's my observance of kashrut, and is a pretty standard traditional one. However, as with everything else, there are always exceptions that people make. So let's see. Things are coming back. I have a shawl yet, but I haven't worn it. A friend brought it back from Israel. That's cool. I also, Neshama says, I also know a few Reform and conservative women who cover their hair even if they aren't married. Some just cover it as a way to connect to their Jewish identity. That's a thing too. Let's see. Nawa64 says, it's lovely. My first Rebbitzin helped me choose mine. I didn't wear talit till after my conversion trig. That's a custom too. I say sometimes people ask me, like, can I wear these things before I'm Jewish? And I say yes, because you could do things for practice, or it's called l'shem hinuch, or for the sake of education. Just know that it's not a mitzvah for you, but once you can practice with these things, so that when it's time to do the mitzvah, when you are Jewish and actually putting on a talit is a mitzvah that you're doing, you know, you'll already be comfortable with it, right? It's like for talit katan, for wearing the talit under your clothes, and in traditional communities where men do this, they say, you know, sort of start kids young. They don't have a mitzvah for, I mean, it's not strictly a requirement until bar mitzvah, but they say get your kid in the habit of doing this as early as they are able to keep it clean and not get it all schmutzy. So some kids will get, you know, I'll get things much schmutzy at my age, but what are you going to do? Kay Dixie says, I look at milk as life-giving and blood as death-related, and that's why I don't want them near each other. I think that's probably part of the taboo as well. Let's see. Yeah, and the thing is, it's really up to you to decide. If you may decide that, okay, I have this talit, but to make it special, I'm gonna hold off until after I convert to wear it. That's okay too, because that gives you something, you know, to look forward to. You know, it's different from, you know, sort of practicing wearing the talit, practicing prayers that you're not really required to say yet. You know, there's as a private person, you know, until you are Jewish, you can't have an aliyah, you can't have the honor for blessing the Torah in many communities. So, but the difference is that wearing a talit is a private mitzvah versus blessing the Torah, which is sort of a public mitzvah that you're doing on behalf of other people. So there's a little bit of a distinction there. Let's see, leave our reign. I've heard arguments against dairy and fish too. So I'll have a chicken and cheese, or I'll have a fish and cheese. God forbid, chicken and cheese. I will personally mix fish and dairy, because that, for me, that's sort of, I'm good with a fence. I'm good with a fence around the fence. Sometimes a fence around the fence around the fence is a bridge too far for me. So there are some people who practice that they won't eat fish and meat on the same plate. There was a rabbi a couple hundred years ago who said, you shouldn't mix, even though fish is considered parv, you shouldn't eat fish and meat together because they cause digestive problems. And this is, I don't know, 17th century science. Go figure. That's why you don't see this a lot, but you might see it on a bottle of Liam Perrin's Worcester sauce, or Worcestershire sauce. A bottle of Liam Perrin's sauce that's brown. It comes in as a paper bag around the bottle. One of the very few places you can see this. There's a hechsher on it that says, that's a Orthodox Union hechsher, the U with a circle around it, and it says fish next to it. This is one of I think might be the only place that I've seen this. And if you're shopping around, if you're looking for hechshers, those symbols that mean it's been certified kosher, you'll see the OU a lot as one of the more popular ones. But Liam Perrin's Worcester sauce has OU fish, because Worcester sauce traditionally contains anchovy. For those people, for that rare group of people who still observe the practice of not mixing meat and fish, which is a tragedy, because I can't think of a greater pairing than, well, I could probably think of some. A really great pairing is meat and Worcestershire sauce. So that's why I don't hold by that. Let's see, Christy B is saying thank you, and Kay Dixie says, Speaker AJ, awesome, thanks. Oh, the anticipation, I bet I will need tissues. Speaker AJ, B'chatzlaha, Christy B, which means good luck. Let's see, what's Christy B saying? Oh, started my first Hebrew class at our shul. Very excited. That's what people are saying. B'chatzlaha and good luck. Speaker AJ shared his speech in the goals and progress section. No rush or pressure to read it right away. Just leave it there. Thank you. That's a real gift for us. Thank you, Speaker AJ, for doing that. Vorse Ike says, hello, Vorse Ike. Nice to have you here. Let's see, Speaker AJ said, it's been a big week for me. I even koshered my kitchen, which was an ordeal. Yes, it can be. To kosher kitchen, that means to render it kosher. So, Vorse Ike, welcome to the Jew Curious Show. What you're doing? I'm playing video games and answering questions about Judaism. So, nice to have you here. If you like watching people play Sleepy Mario, and if you have any questions about, or if you have any questions about Judaism, this is the place to do it. Oh, gotta run. I know this one is a disappearing path, so I gotta get on it while I can. Let's see, Speaker AJ, yay, it was easier for me since I keep a dairy kitchen, that's good. Let's see. Here's another one. Christy B says, you are all the best. Oh no, you're the best, Christy B, from San Bernardino. On a disappearing path of flowers, I'm gonna run with my little Mario legs. Do-dee-doo. Elvella Piano Girl, the Elv is here. Hello. Is this the first time for you playing Super Mario Odyssey? It is not my first time playing Super Mario. It just looks like my first time. I've actually played it before. We're about 3 or 4 worlds in. I just take my time because we're having conversations while I play. I've actually been through... So I think this is my second or third time playing it for this show. We will only play it on Fridays, so we're kind of working through it somewhat slowly. All right, now we got 6 life pennies. Shalom, y'all, Elvella Piano Girl. Let's see. Do you know what a crappy roll jump is? I don't know. I don't know if you're saying Kathy or crappy. I think I've done a crappy roll jump before. I know I've done a crappy roll jump before. I don't know if I've ever done a cappy roll jump. But let me get up this thing. Let's see. Got all these things that look like. I guess these are flower petals. Cappy. Okay, very good. I know there's a cappy roll jump. I don't know if I'm very good at it. So for most of my roll jumps are crappy. Let's see. Here we go. Go into the light, Mario. Hope it doesn't mean he's dying. Oh, it might mean he's dying because it's a boss battle, y'all. Alright, if you're just joining us, welcome to the Jew Curious Show. This is a show where I answer your questions live about Judaism. Boss fight! I wonder which one it's going to be. I think we've seen all of them. Rabbi, question above from Bob Pep. Let me look for that. Thank you for that. Oh, I think I see something Rap Daily. Thank you, people, for monitoring the questions. Bob Pep 7295 Hike says, I just joined, so hopefully this was not discussed. What are your thoughts on tefillin? I'm staunchly pro. And do you rap daily? So my thoughts on tefillin are positive. Do I rap daily? I do not. I do not. Like sometimes I pray the traditional 3 times a day, and when I do, I feel great. Sometimes I have to make time for meditation there. So it is a mitzvah that I strongly encourage. I don't rap daily myself, but I do, probably a couple times a week, and that's just my practice. I'm in this sort of Maimonidean phase where transition between sort of, I'm not dismissing traditional prayer, and when I do it, I feel great. When I rap tefillin, I feel great, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I do pray every day. I don't always pray the 3 services every day, and I only really rap tefillin in the context of if I'm doing a traditional shakri, which I don't do every single day. I'll confess that. I do encourage people to. It is a mitzvah, and so when I don't pray, I do feel like I got something to make up for on Yom Kippur. So that's what I wanted to share. But I am staunchly pro tefillin. I think it's a really incredible meditative practice. It's an incredible spiritual practice. It is commanded by God. I fully believe that. If I don't pray, it's not because I'm dismissing, the yoke of heaven. It's something that I'm failing to do, and I ask for forgiveness for, which is a lot of things I ask for. Bob Pep says, I've made it a part of my day, and I really get a lot out of it. And when I do it, I do too, and I encourage people to do so. I will say, just because I've told this story before, if you're an adult buying tefillin, I just want to make a quick plug. Often adults can have a hard time buying a set of tefillin. Either they're shy to go into the stores that sell them. I've encountered stores that won't sell tefillin to women and won't sell tefillin to people who've converted with non-Orthodox rabbis. So whatever situation you're in, when you're going to get tefillin for the first time, I strongly recommend you go with your rabbi or go with somebody who does wrap tefillin and is knowledgeable about it, just to kind of help guide you through. Right? It can be a nerve-wracking experience if you don't know what you're doing. And so I got mine as a gift from my mother-in-law, who traveled to Israel and got me a set, and right after I became Jewish, and started wrapping them. But oftentimes they're given as gifts. But if you're going to buy it for yourself, take somebody with you who wraps tefillin, who's knowledgeable about it. Take a teacher or a rabbi that you trust, or just a friend who you know wraps tefillin. I think first off, it'll make it easier for you. It'll be a bonding experience for you and your buddy, whoever's going with you, and it'll help kind of ease that. And then that person can also, right in the store, will show you exactly how to do it. So I highly recommend that. Let's see. I went with my rabbi. He made it so much easier. They can get very expensive. I've seen, sets between. There's bar mitzvahs. I don't remember pricing them, but they have bar mitzvah sets, which are usually sized for people of smaller stature, right, 12 and 13-year-olds, and then they have what they call gasot, which just means big or robust, and they can range from $400 or $500 to $800, and so when you're making that kind of investment, but they will last you a lifetime, right? They will like not only last you a lifetime, but they can even be heirlooms that you pass on to future generations. So it is an investment up front. You know, if you're not sure if it's going to be for you, maybe you get a bar mitzvah set or get a smaller set, get into practice. But once you really want to make it a part of your life and want it to be a lifelong practice, you know, it's kind of an investment, but a good set will last you literally forever. It will last you throughout your entire life. So if it's something that's a priority for you, go the extra mile, get a good set that you won't be replacing in a couple of years. Now, 64 says to fill in our prayer boxes that are, Evel is asking what's this, and they're phylacteries. That's like my least favorite translation ever. You know, it's probably as close to like talisman or something like that. Bob Pep says, actually have I've seen Gasot for almost $2,000, paid $500 about 8 years ago. Yeah, so it really depends on, you know, the quality and who's checking them and who's making them, things like that. Levi Rain says, my adopted family was given one by one of their rabbis because they couldn't afford one, but it means that the dad and son need to share. So that's a mitzvah as well. Like it's the kind of thing where, if at all possible, you should really have your own. But it's not. But it's still a mitzvah to lend them to people as well, so that they can do the mitzvah. Mike Buff says, hi, Mike Buff. Welcome to the Jew Curious Show. We're going to get into a little boss battle here. I think I've answered the questions that were on there. If I miss a question, somebody feel free to ask it again or call it out. Mike Buff says, hello, everybody. Nice to have you here, Mike Buff. Uh-oh, well, it can be kind of a scary time. Okay, this guy's like vomiting. That's gross. Yeah, not cool. Aww. Yeah, might be the most disgusting boss battle yet. Oh, got him. I think that's all I had to do. That was easy. Okay. Riding the vomit comet there. Come on, Mike Buff. Okay. Ugh. Alright, I need to get out of here. Whoosh. Alright, this is going down. Female scribes? There are female scribes? Yes. I know a female scribe called a soferet. You know, there's some sects of Judaism that don't accept women doing just about anything, so some people might be upset by female scribes or just be surprised they've never seen one before. But it is, in fact, a thing. People do, there are female scribes out there. Actually, I had an intern, my last job, had an intern for wonderful soferet. I don't know if she wants me mentioning her name online, but I had a wonderful soferet for an intern. She was a trained soferet. Now she's a rabbi in the East Coast somewhere, and we'll do talismans and things like, and writes different scrolls and can repair Torah scrolls and things like that. So it's a skill. All right, let me get my head in the boss battle here. Female scribes, yeah, Hasoferet is female scribes. They'll sell to women, of course. The dad's physically disabled, so he can't wrap it. It's basically the sons, but the son still wants to have two. Very good. A woman can do anything man can except be a priest. Yeah. So we don't really do the whole priest thing anymore. Some congregations that recognize Kohanim for things like Dokanin for priestly blessings also some only recognize men to do the priestly blessings. Some will recognize Banot Kohen, like Kohen daughters as well. Let's see. Yeah, some people want to run the kotel like an Orthodox shul, which is ahistorical. That's about the nicest word you can use for that. Yeah, ahistorical. Alright, so I've guys obviously got an upset tummy. Let's save that heart over there for when I really need it. I'll get one now. Got two. Just need one more. Oh, darn it. Okay, this is where it's tight. We only have, see a rock over there. Got him. Why is the purple slime making a Star of David pattern? I'm going to say it's pure coincidence. let's leave it at that. I don't want to, any kind of anti-Semitic trope around the Brutals. So yeah, I think it's just happened to be bouncing around and making star patterns. I noticed that too. I didn't want to say anything, but that's why I love learning and hanging out with people who can say things that I don't. So, all right, got a multi-moon for that one. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Jew Curious Show. This doesn't seem like a rabbi show, but it is. We're learning a little bit of Torah together. We're learning about different mitzvot. People are asking all sorts of great questions about Judaism and Jewish practice. It just so happens on Fun Friday, we also do it while playing video games. So, very good. Maybe the Brutal is Jew Curious. Maybe he's like, trying out Jewish stuff. So he's making stars with his slime hat. Hope not. I don't know if he wants to come in and ask questions. I'm happy to have him. So now these robots aren't moving like they used to. Let's see. My buff is I just like to search random streams a lot. Well, congratulations. You may have found the most random one. I'm sure I'm not the weird. This isn't the weirdest play. I've seen some weird stuff on Twitch. I believe I'm the only rabbi answering questions about Judaism while playing video games, though. I'll stake that claim. Let's see. Do I want a hat? I don't really want a hat. I just need to find a whole lot of power moons. Okay. The monster's minions must not discover the secret flower field. The entrance is just ahead, but we dare not attempt it. We need assistance. Okay. Already got those. Oh, look. Tanks. You're welcome. Whoop. Oh. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Bob Pep says, different subject. My local Chabad rabbi says if you're late lighting Shabbos candles that you shouldn't light them. I disagree. I thought being late is better than not at all. I don't mean lighting them Saturday afternoon, but like 20 minutes late. Thoughts? So I'll share my personal opinion, but I know there are people who light candles late. I prefer to light them on time, and then if we miss the time, then not light them, just because, there are other great things about Shabbos, but for some people, lighting the candles is the only thing that they do. right? So to take that away from them, uh, if they can only light candles late, then I'm not opposed to people lighting candles late. That's their mitzvah. That's their avera. If there's an avera involved, that's if there's a sin involved, that's on them. That's what their Yom Kippur is for, not mine. Um, I personally prefer to light things on time or even early or not at all. However, that's my family's practice that I can't force on you. So if somebody wants to light them late, and that's the only way they're going to be able to have a family Shabbat together, God forbid I separate people from Shabbat. My strong personal preference is to not light them if they're going to be late, but you should also know, if this is helpful, that whatever the candle lighting times you find, whether you're online, whether you're on the Chabad website, or there are other, I use a tool called myzmanim.com, which you type in your zip code and it gives you candle lighting times, that there is a buffer. So the candle lighting times that are published are always 18 minutes before sort of the legal barrier of sundown. And so that's intentional. That's designed so that, some weeks, sort of treat the candle lighting time as the candle lighting time, but if you're like 5 minutes late, 10 minutes late, 15 minutes late, light the candles and you're fine. If you're worried about transgressing Shabbat, you have an 18-minute window. So that's just built in because, Judaism is a practice, a religion, a faith, a people for humans, and humans make mistakes. And so we have an 18-minute buffer there. And if you go 19 minutes, that's what Yom Kippur is for. I'm not encouraging people to sin or anything like that and say, I'll just fast and Yom Kippur will be fine. But we make mistakes and we learn. And as we're building up our practice, we can get better and better at things. And so I think it's a spiritual practice unto itself to strive to light candles on time or early. You could do it up to like an hour and a quarter early if you want to. But I also know that for some people, their regular Shabbat practice is to light candles and then take a picture, light candles after dark, take a picture of their beautiful candles, post it on Facebook and say, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And that's how they acknowledge Shabbat. That's their oneg for Shabbat. That's their kavod for Shabbat is publicizing that. That's not a traditional practice, but in your family, that might be your family's tradition. So I don't yuck other people's yums. I say, if you're working into your Shabbat practice, there are always things that you could do a little bit better. So start where you are with what you have, and then build up to it. And if you decide that lighting them on time is important to you, then that might take practice, and you may make mistakes. And what allows me to teach, what allows me to learn, what allows me to be Jewish and human in the world is counting on God. The God that I worship is a forgiving God. I try not to take advantage of that, but sometimes we need to acknowledge that we're not perfect, and that the perfect judge is also the perfect source of grace and compassion. So that's my particular take. Let's see, Anti-Res Rising. Someone is asking a question in YouTube chat. So I'll say if somebody's asking a question in YouTube chat, I usually take a look at those at the end, but just because you pointed it out, and I don't want to talk to this robot, let me go ahead. I do like if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook, I answer the questions that are live in chat for the most part in Twitch. So come to Twitch and register. And let me turn this down. So you got 2 people watching. Let's love me some Captain Z. Why aren't you Orthodox? Because I'm not. Because when I converted, I was a part of a conservative family, and that was how they did Jewish. So that's how I became Jewish. I don't feel like I need the approval of 10% of the Jewish world in order to feel authentic. Let's see, Army Brats 173. Wow, a cute game finally. Not like that paintball game we were playing before, right? Is the Reconstructionist movement considered genuine? I don't see why not. I mean, it's not my bag, but it came out of the. What's interesting to me about the Reconstructionist movement is it came out of the conservative movement. It was a conservative rabbi or a teacher at a conservative seminary who started it, and for the most part, a lot of Reconstructionist theology and practice has made it back into the conservative movement. So. It's as genuine as the number of people, if it's genuine for you, that's where you belong. let's see. Is you're attending an unaffiliated synagogue, which movements can you not get on the Beit Din? Try to understand this. If you're attending an unaffiliated synagogue, so my advice to people when picking a Beit Din is you should convert with a Beit Din that's representative of the community of which you are a part. So that doesn't mean that you have to belong to an affiliated conservative synagogue in order to sit in front of a conservative Beit Din. But if the people that you associate with are, let's say, in practice conservative Jews, and that's how you want to practice, that's how you want to be a part, then it makes sense to seek out conservative rabbis for your Beit Din. Likewise, if you're really at home in a Reform congregation, I would say go to Reform rabbis to do your conversion. They do, from all my observation, Reform rabbis will have the same demands of study and learning and mikvah and everything else exactly the same as a conservative Beit Din. Conservative Beit Din follows the Shulchan Aruch is in terms of like how we question people and what kind of educational requirements we have. So I have no problems. There's no question of me sort of accepting somebody's conversion because it was Reform rabbis who did it, because all the Reform rabbis I've observed on Beit Dins act exactly like conservative rabbis. Let's see. The Tactical Barrage is asking some very particular, near biblical questions. If a person has taken the Nazirite vow, is there a difference in the vow as it relates to being in the proximity of dead bodies? For instance, Samson was in the proximity of dead bodies. I mean, the Nazirite vow is sort of staying away from things. It's like not cutting your hair, not drinking wine, some things maybe about dead bodies, but it was like, but he did also, he drank wine, and he had the Nazirite vow sort of taken for him. His mother was sort of concentrated him to be a Nazirite. Actually, so I was just like gesticulating. Oh, look at that. When I swing my controller, the hat pops out. I was just talking with my hands. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. Is a body still considered a body if it is cremated? What is considered close proximity to a body? Proximity, there's not so much about proximity to bodies. Like if you're trying to, like Kohanim, for example, and this was teaching from Rabbi Dr. Aryeh Cohen, my favorite, I was going to say my favorite. I have a lot of good Talmud professors, but one of my best Talmud professors was Rabbi Dr. Aryeh Cohen, who was a Cohen. And as a Cohen, people would ask him about, questions about proximity to a dead body, because it says in the Torah that a priest or someone of the priestly family should not come into contact with dead bodies, except if it's like, a first order relative, and then you still have to do some cleansing before you can go back to your priestly duties, as they say in Nacho Libre. But what that means is, by tradition, many Kohanes won't go to cemeteries. They just won't set foot in a cemetery. But Dr. Rabbi Cohen says that's not necessary, because it's actually talking about contact with a dead body. It's not talking about proximity to a dead body. But when a lot of these traditions were emerging, cemeteries weren't what cemeteries are like now, right? Cemeteries nowadays, especially like in California, cemeteries of the everything, there's sort of a regulation depth that bodies have to be buried. They're buried by California state law in these concrete casks that the casket actually goes inside a concrete box, which is sort of open at the bottom so natural decomp can occur. So it's still, according to Jewish burial rituals. But for Dr. Cohen, just that depth and the barrier of the casket itself at the time of the funeral, and then after many years later, there's still a depth there. That's considered a sufficient buffer for his practice for, say, going to funerals and things like that. But this tradition of Kohanim not entering graveyards was happening at a time when, graveyards weren't as nice as they are now. There might be some bodies that have been there for a while that have, the soil is settled and some things are coming up to the top. And I don't want to think about it or put that image in your mind. But, there might be a bone sticking out, or there might be, like, you might step on something that was used to be a person's body. So that was the concern about Kohanim staying out of graveyards. If you go into a graveyard, there was a non-zero chance that you might actually come in contact with, like physical contact with carrion, like with human remains. But if you're just walking into a cemetery, if you're at a funeral, there's a box around the remains, so you're not going to come in contact with them. For the most part, we don't do open casket funerals. I have been to one Jewish funeral that was, but for the most part, we don't. So there's really no chance of you coming into contact with the dead body. And then once it's buried, there's a good 6-foot distance between you and that body in the United States of America in the 21st century. So things are a little bit different now. So I'll say for who was this, the Tactical Barrage on YouTube, there's not a lot of chance that you're going to come into contact with the dead body just being in a cemetery. It's actually touching human remains that's the problem. And nowadays we have a lot of things that keep us from doing that. Cremation, cremains, if you're touching human ashes, some might consider that it doesn't come up a lot in traditional sources, because traditional sources assume that people weren't being cremated. But usually there's some sort of buffer between you and the ashes as well. So those are some funerary questions. People have questions like that. Death is something that people think about quite a bit. So especially in religious contexts. Okay, so I'm going to pick up this seed and plant it somewhere. What's going on here in the chat? Even Abraham and Joshua Heschel smelled the spices on Kabbalat Shabbat instead of during Havdalah. And he was Orthodox. Everyone has their own things. Let's see. Got some good discussion on sin and forgiveness here in Mitzvot. Speaker AJ, fresh out of the mikveh, y'all. To me, and I don't want to embarrass you, but you brought it up. To me, there are 3 distinct things: goofing up a mitzvah because of genuine whoopsie moment, willful ignorance, apathy, adopting a practice that may not be traditional just because it's the best you can do under the circumstances. The God I've come to know makes a distinction between the 3, but that's just my opinion. More on the conservative side than on the Orthodox side. I'll say that's like the Torah's opinion too. We actually have like multiple words. There's a het and a pesha and an avera. Like they're different. We have different categories of sin, and some of those are whoopsies, and some of them are pesha is like a rebellion. It's not just like there's sinning by accident. There's sinning on purpose, and then there's sinning in a public way that causes other people to sin. And so there are levels. They say, Native peoples of the North have multiple words for snow, because that's a big part of their life, and Jews have multiple words for sin, because thinking about it is a big part of traditional Jewish life as well. As long as we're having some funsies, let me go ahead and check Facebook and see if anybody's asking questions there. Nope. Guess we're just not that popular. A wheel tolls. Do you have tips for converting at university? I'm converting with a conservative rabbi at my university, Hillel. She knows that I want to practice Reform Judaism. Thus far, she's been great, but our meetings haven't been very structured, and although I know a lot from doing my own research, I'm nervous about what I should know and what practices I should be familiar with. And so I think that's really, if you're working with a rabbi, that's a conversation to have with them. Like, I'm not going to give you a curriculum that's different from a rabbi who knows you personally. They're the most qualified person to give you your curriculum. Maybe they can point you to an organized introduction to Judaism class. When I converted, it wasn't as a part of an organized, back it up. It wasn't like a school class with lectures and a bunch of people there. It was like me and my wife and another couple that was engaged meeting the rabbi in his study basically for book club, right? We gave us books to read and we'd read them and discuss them. And after a year of doing that, and a year of observing the holidays, he took me before Beit Din and I converted. So it wasn't like the classes that I teach now. I teach a class in the Jew Curious School that's an organized step-by-step curriculum. I teach classes live in LA, the Miller Introduction to Judaism program I teach with sometimes. That is by far, other than the one that we created for the Jew Curious School, if you can get access where you are to a live Miller Introduction to Judaism course, I highly recommend it. That is the best classroom curriculum for Judaism I've ever seen. But that's more of a modern innovation around how we do school in the 20th and 21st century. Traditionally, you might have studied one-on-one with a rabbi or in a small group with a rabbi, and that's how it was done. So that is legit as well. So my advice is, you know, work with this particular rabbi who you have a relationship with, who knows you. That's why, you know, I put this out in guides all the time. I'm always teaching the Pirkei Avot that says you find yourself a teacher, you find yourself a friend, and you give people the benefit of the doubt. Primary, you know, they're all kind of co-equal, but you really should, when studying Judaism, there's a lot of stuff you can read online by yourself. And even if you're working with a teacher, there's a lot of stuff you can study on your own. But I really advise people to have a rabbi in their life if they're studying about Judaism. First off, that person has, you know, knows where all the goodies are, can give you advice on, you know, all the intellectual, you know, scriptural and textual goodies anyway. Not necessarily gefilte fish, although they may know where those are too. But the most important thing about having a relationship with a rabbi is that this person can get to know you and what your goals are and can guide you on the path to sort of the best not the next best step, that'd be this like second place, but the best next step for you, you know, based on what you want to do, so that you're not just on this kind of wild goose chase. The person says, okay, I know you, and I can tell that the next thing that you need to learn or that would be most valuable for you is this. And then go from there. And there, Judaism and Jewish learning has always been done best and most traditionally in the context of relationship with fellow students, and relationship between a student and a teacher who knows you personally. So that's what I recommend, if at all possible. Just say, these are my concerns. Yes, I like that we're meeting. Do I need something more formal? And they may say no. Just read the, like when I did it, the rabbi basically gave me 3 books and said, read through these 3 books. Maybe I'll give you some articles besides, and we'll just get together and discuss them while you're observing all the holidays. And those 3 books were Rabbi Brad Artsen's It's a Mitzvah. It's from the 90s, but I think it still holds up. Rabbi Michael Strassfeld's Guide to Jewish Holidays. There are other guides to Jewish holidays. I like Rabbi Irving Greenberg's The Jewish Way is another good text, but a good starter text is Strassfeld's Guide to Jewish Holidays. And Herman Wouk's This Is My God was a great introduction for me. And it's because it's written from an observant Jew who's also a literary intellectual for his literary intellectual friends, which was sort of what I styled myself as back in those days, who weren't necessarily connected to religion. And it's Wouk, W-O-U-K. I think he just passed away in the last year. So that's my advice. So he gave me these. So I recommend those books, but he gave me these 3 books and said, you read these books, we'll talk about them. And that was my course of study. So maybe, you know, if you don't have a course near you, just ask your rabbi and follow her advice, and I think you'll be okay. Let's see, what's the best way one can begin the process of conversion if they are geographically isolated? In my case, I'm about 2 hours from the nearest synagogue and Jewish population. So, and I say this advisedly because I always hesitate a little bit when I advise people who aren't close to a synagogue about, you know, trying to find ways to be a part of a Jewish community, because I do really feel that strongly that, you know, there are no Jewish monks. Like, you can't be a Jew in isolation. Thank God nowadays there are online communities that I see serving a real role as people's communities who are geographically isolated. I'll say 10, 20, you know, recently as 10 years ago, you know, online communities have been evolving over the last 10, 20 years. But let's say 50 years ago, if you were inspired to become Jewish but you didn't live within 100 miles of a synagogue, most rabbis wouldn't, you know, give you the time of day about that, because it's like, if you can't be a part of a synagogue community, there's no point in your being Jewish. I take a different tack than that. I say, if you're in a remote location, you know, there's no reason you can't start learning, and maybe even being Jewish, because what that means is, you know, you might in the future have the opportunity to move someplace where people are Jewish. And so how I divide it is, whereas some rabbis would say, you know, wait till you move to a Jewish place and have a community and then start learning. I would rather have people start learning so that when they find themselves in a Jewish community, they're ready to participate, if that makes sense. And so that's why, I mean, I don't want to sound self-serving, but that's why I created the Jew Curious School. So we do this a couple of times a week for free. I have a bunch of YouTube videos out there that people can learn from. There's a lot of great resources online. The majority of online resources have a more fundamentalist bent to them, so I wanted to give a, let's say, more conservative, conservative rabbi, as in, big C, Masorti movement, but also a more liberal, small L liberal approach to Judaism, because there's not a lot of that out there as far as online learning. But I created this school for people who either, maybe they live close to a class, but it doesn't work for their schedule, or maybe they don't live close to a Jewish community that they can learn from. So we created the Jew Curious School so that people can learn from any place that has an internet connection. And we have a complete Introduction to Judaism class on there. I can't convert you online, and I don't pretend to, but if somebody wanted to take the coursework that would be necessary for conversion, you can do that online. You still have to get in the water physically. You still have to meet with the Beit Din, and most Batei Din will insist that you meet them personally. I have heard of a Zoom Beit Din, but that was a very exceptional case of an elderly woman who lived in rural Australia and could not travel. There were some rabbis who would make an exception and meet with her over Zoom. But you can start learning, and that's any approach to Judaism, if you're considering conversion, will ask you to be learning for 6 months, a year, or multiple years before you can join the family. So I think that's a great place to start. Look at courses online. I happen to have a course online. There's a link to it below if you're watching on Twitch. It's the Jew Curious School, and try it out. See if it's for you. It's risk-free, and we'd love to have you there. So as you can see, a lot of people who are in that school are here too, and you can already see how nice everybody is. So let's see. We're talking about Kohen and Levi, and I think the crowd's answering the questions pretty well. So I'm going to do a little bit more. We've been going for about 2 hours, and I got to go do some stuff. So we're going to just maybe throw this acorn, whoop, and jump up the beanstalk. And we're going to wrap this up in about 5-10 minutes, I'll say. Da-da. Recharge station is crowded. Let's see, got that charging station going. Well, recharging. Oh, hey, there's my ship. Oh, there's tanks a lot. Ha 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 ha. Later, tank. Gotta be careful how I do this so I can still get up. Okay, I'll do it. Clear out that one. And okay. So I'm going to get up there, and then I think we're going to call it a day. Okay, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Alright, we're at the summit path. I think that's probably a good place to stop. Say, if you had, oh nice, K Dixie says, if you had fun today while also learning, consider becoming a subscriber. Helps grow our community, only costs $4.99 a month. That is true. I also heard that there's a thing on Twitch, there's September. So they run a special on subscriptions in September, and they're doing a tie-in with Subway sandwiches. Get it? Subscribe, Subway sandwiches. So we'll learn more about that when we meet next time on Monday. So thank you everybody for learning with me today. We've been going about 2 hours now. Really excited to have everybody here. The people who cheered today, the people who maybe subscribed today, people who have just followed today, that's cool too. You'll get notifications when we're on. Our regular schedule is 9 a.m. Monday and 9 a.m. Friday. I think I'm going to skip Monday though, because it's Labor Day, and I think we got some family activities planned. So stay tuned for that. If you're in the Jew Curious School, we may push Monday classes to another day of the week, just because I want to honor people's Labor Day and want to make sure that people can enjoy their Labor Day weekend if that's something that you're celebrating without feeling like you're missing things. So watch the news in the Jew Curious School for that. So we may move our Jew Curious School classes from Monday. I think I'll make the decision right now. We won't have this thing. We won't have a regular Ask Me Anything this Monday. It's Labor Day. Go to the beach. Go have a picnic. Go be with your friends and family. I'll still be here waiting for you next Friday at this time, 9 a.m. Pacific time, for Fun Friday. And we'll have back-to-back Fun Fridays. So Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Thank you for the subscribers and the followers and all the great questions. You don't have to spend a dime here with subscriptions or bits to enjoy learning with us. Everybody is welcome here no matter what. But just really grateful to everybody who contributes and everybody who just contributes with their words and showing up. And with good news, like Speaker AJ did. So we're going to say non-law 64, no AM. So we're not going to do AMA on Monday morning. I haven't decided about our weekly Torah study. I think I'm probably going to put that off to a different day, but as soon as I make that decision, I'll make the announcement in the Jew Curious School itself. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Have a great long weekend, and until next time, heroes, peace. When I say that, I'm just going to go ahead and make sure there's no questions here on Facebook and YouTube. How's that for a long goodbye? All right, I got some message retracted. All right, cool. So I think we covered it. Peace.